We are April and Scott, creators of NaughtyGym.com, and this is The Naughty Gym Show.
For years, we've been fitness and nutrition coaches to thousands of people through our commercial gyms and online platform. We've also spent nearly a decade in an ever-evolving open relationship.
This show brings together two of our biggest passions, fitness and sex positivity. Our mission is to maximize the physical and mental health of anyone brave enough to explore relationship structures that run counter to societal norms.
We have demolished our old ways of thinking about relationships, and from that rubble, built a life full of happiness, adventure, and vitality. And now we want to help you do the same.
So hop on the treadmill, start the show, and let us teach you how to never stop playing. Welcome back to the Naughty Gym Show. I am your host today with a co-host, Catherine from Expansive Connection. And we have a special episode for you today. We're going to be talking about our Wild and Wise retreat. We have a few guests that are going to come on that actually attended our Wild and Wise retreat last year. So welcome, Catherine. So happy that you're here. Always good to see you.
You're making me get really excited about this retreat. It's going to be so much.
It is. It's going to be a blast. So before we get into everything, we just want to say this is our second time doing this Wild and Wise retreat. It has a focus on menopause. So any woman that is, well, really for any woman. And so the purpose of this retreat is just to help women be more embodied and thrive through this stage of life. So however we can support them. So the dates are November 8th through the 11th, and that's in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. We have right now, it's open for 30 women. We have 11 spots left. And we have a huge cabin. There's private king suites. There's a bunk room that is actually sold out already. Indoor pool, indoor theater, hot tubs, everything we need to have an incredible time at this retreat. So Catherine, I want to talk to you a little bit about what you are excited about coming into this year and some of your sessions.
Yeah, absolutely. I brought my book that I love, Wise Power. This is the book that inspired me, really lit me up about menopause, perimenopause, how the generations before us have just been expected to suffer through, and thinking, why? No way. So this book is all about the spiritual, emotional, relational journey through menopause. And right about that time, I came to you and said, what the fuck? I'm eating better than I ever have. I'm exercising well. Like, I'm putting on weight for no reason. What is happening? So the combination of you helping me change some of my fitness and eating habits, just a few tweaks that made a really big difference. And this book about how to reclaim the power of menopause just lit me up. And so I came to you, I think it was in Jamaica at Hedonism, said, please, let's do this. And so we did it, and we sold it out, and we had this amazing weekend. You're going to hear from guests that joined us last year. And so mostly I'm just excited that this idea continues to grow, and we get to do it a second time and introduce more women. One of the things I wanted to mention that I learned in my research for our first one and since, and talking to some of the women, that there were women that came that had not really didn't necessarily feel like they had started perimenopause. And it's so important, as you said, really any woman. One of the things in this Wise Power book is they talk about if you're still cycling, there's so much that you can learn about what your menopause journey might be like, what your relationship journey is probably going to be like from your cycle, especially right before your period. And so that really got me excited too, because I think there are women that are like, oh, well, I'll deal with that later. And it's like, wait, no. Come into the circle early. Let us tell you some things, because you won't have to suffer for a moment like we did.
Well, and I think one of the biggest things that we've heard from women, well, I'm sure you have, I know I have in doing some of these Zoom calls, is I don't know if it's perimenopause. I'm just super busy. I'm super stressed out. I've got a lot going on. I haven't been sleeping well, and I still have a regular cycle. So it's probably not perimenopause yet. It is perimenopause, or at least part of it is. Not to take away from that, your life probably is busy. You're taking care of kids and parents and schedules and working full time and doing all of this stuff. And then all of these other things start happening to your body. And so it's easy to just attribute that to high stress or work, busy schedules. But in fact, I talked to a girl yesterday who said, but I have a regular cycle, but she's 48. You're going into perimenopause if you are not hard in it already. Thankfully, you may just not have had a lot of symptoms.
Or I was talking to my sister-in-law last week, and she said, well, I'm still on the pill. So, I don't really know. And it was just like, oh, I'm on the pill, so I should be fine. And that's all her doctor said. And I said, just keep pushing. Don't let them blow you off. Like if you're having these symptoms you're talking to me about, like you can get so much help and support.
Yeah. I want to talk to you a little bit about the workshop that you're going to offer, talking about how our relationships evolve and how we show up in our relationships through this season.
Yeah, so I'm going to be doing 2 workshops, and the first one will be similar to the one we did last year, but of course there's always new stuff and new anecdotes and things that I'll bring in. But the main focus of the first one, which will be early in the weekend or during the retreat, is really looking at this time and trying to harvest the gifts of this time, re-examining it, reclaiming it. For me, again, this book, Wise Power, just lit me up about taking this time as an empowerment journey. Not just something I got to suffer through, or I'm just dried up old hag, whatever. No. And one of the images that has come to me in my menopause journey, which I guess we should say, we keep saying menopause. Menopause is actually only one day, a day that you went for a whole year without a period, but we're using that as a broad term. But for me, I've had this sense, this is going to sound kind of weird, I don't know, but it's like, I feel like I've had some brown grandma wrinkly hands grabbing my face and saying, girl, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? It's time. No more putting it off. No more taking care of everybody else. What you going to do? And that has felt empowering. Like not just, again, that you just slither off into old lady time. It's what am I going to do? And these are the times. So that's how we'll start to just do a little bit of that reframing, because I don't want women to think that we're going to just come here and like, wah, wah, woe is me, bitch and moan about the
right.
And let's just get rid of them. And what's the next lotion I can use to be 25? No, fuck that. We don't want to be 25 again. How to take this back. So that's going to be my first workshop. And then later in our retreat, I'm going to be focusing on relationships. Of course, that's my love, is looking at everything really through a relational lens. But as I've been talking to more people about this, again, in our retreat last year, no relationship that you don't get through menopause without every relationship changing in some way or another. Nothing in your life goes unscathed. You are changing so much. We are changing so much that everything around us, everything we touch, everything inside us and outside us is going to be affected. And of course, in my work with coaching couples and moresomes and anybody really with relational goals, menopause is a really big game changer. And for a lot of people, it's one of the highest times for divorce. It often coincides when children are leaving the house or children are in, adolescence. And I think that if we start to understand the natural ways that menopause push how shall we say, an intense evolution in our relationships. Relationships are always evolving. They're meant to change. They're constantly shifting. But this is a time that it's a pressure cooker, kind of like when we jump into ethical non-monogamy and it shows us some of the cracks in the foundation, or, wow, I thought we were good communicators. Maybe we aren't. So I'm trying to reframe this and help people expect that this is going to change your relationship. And again, not so we can bitch and moan about it, but we can take it by the horns and say, how are we going to change our relationship? How are we going to evolve? What are the gifts we can take from this? Not everybody is going to come through menopause with their marriage intact. It's not going to happen, or their relationship. But then doing that gracefully, respectfully, and in a way that you can have a relationship with that person for the rest of your life and it isn't a thorn in your side. But I believe that many couples can get through this. Many more could get through this. Yeah. They understand and prepare for it and work through it as an opportunity.
Yeah, I love that. And that is what is so beautiful, I think, even about last year, was there were women who were partnered, unpartnered, divorced, single, and just being able to see them share their stories and feel supported and like there wasn't anything wrong with them. And then to have you there to kind of guide them through if they had questions and stuff. So I'm excited about this workshop because we didn't have that one last year. This is a new one. Well, they'll both be new, but this is a really exciting one.
Yeah. And even when I brought this idea to you, I loved how you were so wise. You said, it isn't just the relationship with our partner, though. it's the relationship with ourselves. It's the relationship with our community. For me, I'm having a lot of shifting and evolution in the relationship I have with my parents.
Yeah.
We're having some of that role reversal. I'm starting to set boundaries with my dad that I needed to set 20 years ago. He doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've had conversations this month with several of my girlfriends who are painfully setting boundaries with family members that should have been done years ago, but it's new territory. So that's going to be an incredible session. So my workshops will go hand in hand. On day one, I'm going to be doing a workshop on kind of figuring out what it is that you want in the stories that we tell ourselves. Then that internal narrative, the dialogue we have running through our head. A lot of us have that dialogue. If we were to say it out loud to other people, it would sound so abusive and horrible. Or if we said what we tell ourselves, if we told that to a friend, they wouldn't be our friend anymore. And so just kind of how we have to shift that. And then you'll be talking about kind of why we deserve to. And then on day two, and that relates to fitness too, because I will be talking about fitness and nutrition and how that changes or should change through menopause. Because one of the one things I hear from my female clients is they have this all or nothing mindset. Like, if I can't be perfect, I don't want to do it. Or that condemnation where, well, I messed up today or I missed a workout. I guess I just won't do it, or I'm not good enough to do it. So we'll be talking about that. And then on day two, I'll be talking about kind of getting more into the nitty gritty, a little bit different than I did last year, about your nutrition and fitness and how you can support yourself in a healthier way for longevity and to sleep better and to just have more confidence in your body. So we're going to bring on our next guest. All right. Our next guest is Cara. Cara has been a Naughty Gym coach since maybe 2021, 2022, several years. But she also is a coach in her own right. She has her own gym that she coaches people, Push Fitness, in Salem, Oregon. And she is also a pelvic floor specialist. And so she's going to be at our Wild and Wise retreat doing the pelvic power workshop. Welcome, Cara.
Thank you so much for having me. And it is such an honor to work with both of you in the ways that I get to. It just feels like, well, I just feel like I'm living my dream here. So yeah.
Well, so I want to talk a little bit about why are we doing this workshop for women who are going through perimenopause or postmenopausal? Why is this even something that is important?
Yeah. The pelvis, I called the workshop like pelvic power because the pelvis itself is such the powerhouse of the body in so many ways. It helps our entire body move. It's like mechanically, it's a powerhouse, but it is also a place where we store so many emotions, positive and negative, and it can be a source of power. So we think about, our sexual health or having children or places where we store our trauma. The pelvis is like the focal point of all of those things. And so I really wanted to develop a workshop for people whose bodies were changing because it affects so much of that part of your body during menopause, that I really wanted people to be able to experience not only letting go of things, but harnessing the power that lives there too, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all of those things.
Yeah.
So.
And what are some of the things that a tight pelvic floor or an unhealthy pelvic floor can cause? Like, some women may not even know, what are some symptoms?
Sometimes the symptoms lay dormant. So a lot of times the ones that are really common are like peeing when you cough or sneeze or jump on a trampoline or something like that. And sometimes even those symptoms can be sort of played back off as normal. And they're common, but they're not normal. And so that's the main one that a lot of people have heard of. And so a lot of times people will think, oh, well, I didn't have a baby or I don't have that problem, so I don't have any pelvic floor issues. But it can pop up in all kinds of ways. You can have any kind of joint pain because the pelvic floor is part of the anticipatory core, which functions anytime any part of your body moves. The pelvic floor is part of that process. So if it's not working properly, sometimes it causes shoulder pain or knee pain, jaw pain. We can also it can also be a sign that we have pelvic floor dysfunction if we have any issues with pain during sex. That can become more prevalent during menopause, and we don't really realize that our pelvic floor is part of the issue. We can, creams and things like that can be part of your solution. But if you're not also addressing the pelvic floor, you could be losing a big part of your recovery.
In one of the workshops that we had last year with a good friend of mine who's an anatomy professor, she was going really deep dive into the anatomy of women. And I didn't realize this. She did this really great picture of the pelvic floor and how it needs to be able to, you don't want it to be this way. You don't want it to be this way. It needs to be just like this in order to have powerful orgasms. And she was talking about, spread eagle is a really difficult place to orgasm because your pelvic floor is spread too thin, right? And so she was talking about this, and I was thinking when I started my perimenopausal journey, I had more trouble orgasming than I'd ever had before. And so I started to wonder when I heard Ashley say that, I wonder if I'm having some, degradation of my pelvic floor that maybe I need to strengthen that. And so that got me really excited about your workshop this year.
Yeah. Positioning is definitely something. And it's interesting. Our orgasm does change as we get older. And one of the things that happens, we lose muscle mass as we go through perimenopause. I mean, we lose muscle mass through our lives, no matter who we are, but especially when that estrogen drops, we start losing muscle mass, and the pelvic floor is not immune. And so if you haven't had any issues earlier in life, but then start realizing there's a change in your sexual function later, that's a great place to start, because you're not going to hurt yourself by doing some breathing exercises. And chances are that doing some really simple breathing exercises can actually help increase blood flow, increase the integrity of the tissue there. And Ashley was exactly right when talking about wanting the pelvic floor to be mobile. I think about it as a trampoline, you want buoyancy. So any muscle in the body is strong in that mid-range. But if we get kind of tight and locked up, we lose the ability to be able to get a full contraction, which those contractions are what we want to have when we have an orgasm, right? We want that those waves, and we can't get that if a muscle is all locked up and tight. And so learning the relaxation and the contraction is a really key part of what we'll be learning in the workshop as well.
Yeah. Boy, I think that whoever's on the fence is I'm in. Right. I'm also going to learn how to have better orgasms. I'm in.
Count me in. The first time I took one of Cara's pelvic floor classes, I will never forget talking about how I have, since I was a kid, always sucked my stomach in. That was just something, my mom would say, suck in, stand up tall. And so I had been sucking in my stomach every day, with just subconsciously for 45 years at that time. And Cara was like, you are keeping your pelvic floor contracted, which means it's not that muscle contraction. You cannot use it properly and it was so freeing just to let my belly go. I mean, just that alone, it was the permission I needed to sit comfortably, to breathe real deep belly breaths instead of shallow breathing all day long. So that was just that little tip was so transformative in the way I carry myself and affected my pelvic floor. And I had no idea. So these women have a lot to expect. Can you also talk a little bit about, because there's pelvic floor therapy, right? And some of that, a lot of women have started hearing about that more lately. It's becoming, thankfully, a lot more common and widespread. But some of that can be internal stuff that an actual doctor or physical therapist is working on. Can you talk about what your workshop will look like? So if women are a little scared when they hear that word pelvic floor, what are they walking into?
Yeah. So no, I'm not going to go in there. That's outside of my scope of practice. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to talk about how to access the pelvic floor, which the way that I do it is through the breath, because your pelvic floor works in connection with the diaphragm. So, which is your breathing muscle. So if we can sort of feel the connection of the inhale, relax, and the exhale, contract of the diaphragm, relax our belly, learn how to use that transverse abdominis that kind of wraps around the guts like a corset, and the multifidus, which is the muscles right along the spine that contribute to most back pain, but when they're functioning properly, the opposite of that. I kind of teach you how to feel those muscles and utilize the breath in order to make that connection. And then we take that core breath and we link it to some simple movements. And then we spend a little bit of time working on hip mobility and thoracic spine mobility because of diaphragm and pelvic floor. You want all of those things to be functioning well. So just like I was saying that you don't want to walk around with like a tight pelvic floor or any tight muscles all the time, we want to make sure that you can really feel and mobilize the areas that you'll be utilizing for proper, and maybe not proper is not the right word, but like ideal pelvic floor contraction and recruitment. So we'll do all of that. At the end, we'll do some somatic exercises to kind of release some tension through the body. Sometimes if we're feeling our pelvic floor really work for the first time in a long time, sometimes we have some stuff stored in there that needs to get out of our bodies. Sometimes it's part of our own history. Sometimes maybe it doesn't really belong to us, but it's just been living in our body for a while. And so we'll do some exercises to kind of help release and let go. Sometimes that looks a little bit wild, but we can have some fun with it. And also because it's going to be like a small, intimate group, I just sort of invite people to like let it all out.
And that's the whole goal, though, of this whole weekend. You said they may get a little wild. That is the goal of this weekend, for these women to let loose, get wild in their own right, be embodied, feel the feelings, work through those feelings, and not hide it, not mask it, not push it back down, to just let it out. So I'm excited that this is going to be on the first morning of the first full day morning of the retreat, to kind of give those women that like expansiveness to kind of be more embodied and receive for the rest of the weekend.
As you're talking about this, it's reminding me, I'm thinking about the listeners who are wondering about this. And, I know that before I had gone to a Naughty Gym event, and because I saw, how fit April is, I thought, gosh, everybody's going to be in tip top shape, no body fat, like the workouts are going to be so gnarly intense. And, I remember going to one of your workshops and being better at being bad, Cara. And I think that it is important for people to understand you don't have to be in like peak physical fitness to do some really important work with your pelvic floor and your core, which can, if you're in great shape, is only going to help more. Mm-hmm. If you are coming off the couch, what a beautiful place to start. Yeah. So I just wanted to, and maybe you two can speak to that too. You are not going to be there with a bunch of like hard-bodied women. I mean, certainly there are some, but you're all shapes and sizes. These workshops and the people that we attract, our tribe, all shapes and sizes and places in their fitness.
Yeah.
I mean, first, everybody has pelvic floor. And so pelvic floor health can also make men's orgasms better and their penises work more efficiently. Just saying.
Just a little, maybe you'll be over at the men's retreat teaching them that as well.
Yeah, we could do an ED workshop as well. But also, yes, I have always been a big believer in health at every size. And I've experienced that in my own body. My body has come in different sizes through the years for all different reasons, but I've been fit through all of those bodies. And so a lot of times we can't really tell how healthy somebody is by looking at them. But I do think that I hope that in our like in the lifestyle, and especially with like the work that we do, that more people do feel more comfortable in their bodies and sort of embracing their sexuality in their body, whether they want it to change or not. But even in the process of that change, if they do decide that they would want to change their bodies.
Absolutely. And that is one of our Our biggest driver is now why we are rebranding from Naughty Gym to Aya Society, as you are, because we've come up against that so many times where people are like, we're not fit enough. We're not fit enough. And then we had to explain what our definition of fitness was. It's just having that growth mentality. It doesn't mean you need a transformation. You don't have to transform your body in any way that you don't want to. If you want to, we will help support you. But this isn't about transforming. This is about being embodied and being more confident and accepting who you are in the body that you're in, growing and getting more education in every realm of fitness, holistically, spiritually, relationally, emotionally, whatever that looks like. So I think you're going to be an incredible addition to this, and you're going to be there in person, not one of our virtual guests. So that's even more exciting. So anybody that is there that weekend that wants to continue work with their pelvic floor, you're available for that. And other coaching as well. But you just have so much to offer. And I'm really excited about the addition this year of you coming.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm excited for the in-person aspect, and because it always does help to be able to cue someone in person. And then I also do a couple different kinds of hands-on therapy, which can help quite a bit for mobility and stretching and things like that. So
yeah. Do you want to talk about a couple of your different programs?
Sure. Yeah. So I do it's called fascial stretch therapy. It's done on a massage table, and it works with lines of tension through the body, and it utilizes PNF stretching, which is a kind of stretching. It's like a contract release stretch that you would get in Pilates or things like that, where you can get past the muscle tissue into the fascia, which stretches a little bit more permanently and plastically than the muscle tissue. So if there's something where something is just kind of stuck, or maybe you get really tight from travel or something, that we can do a little bit of a release like that. And then I've also been working on some Thai massage techniques with a piece of fabric. So I can do some releases through the body in that way. And what I really like about that technique is that there's a kind of a rocking. And so just how I was talking to you about the somatic release at the end, I think that there can be a lot of benefit for someone who's central nervous system is just on, or is feeling stressed out, or maybe you would go to a workshop and you kind of have a physical manifestation of some of the work that you've been doing some exercises where you can sort of rock things out can be a really great way to release tension, not just in your muscles, but in, energetically as well. So I am really excited about that piece that I've been adding in more. So,
and consequently, we will have massage tables at the retreat.
Bring my straps.
One thing that you said, I just feel like you can tell I'm a nerd. I want to underline it and highlight it. That you said that many of these symptoms are common, but not normal. And I think that encapsulates so much of our menopause journey, from emotional to relational to physical to our expectations of spiritual, that just because something is common doesn't mean it's normal. And I think that encapsulates so much of our menopause journey, from emotional to relational to physical to our expectations of spiritual, that just because something is common doesn't mean it's normal. Just because our mothers and our grandmothers suffered doesn't mean it's normal and we have to. Yeah. That distinction was just,
growing up as a woman in our society, we have been so gaslit in a lot of ways by the medical industry. We sort of are coming along during this time where there was that one sort of bad study that had been
blew everything up.
Blew up the whole HRT system because, of course we don't want to kill women with breast cancer. But then it turned out that study wasn't even done well or analyzed well, or, and so a lot of people of us have missed out on a lot of that information early on. And then we also grow up in a society where I think women are taught to ignore their symptoms. And especially if you're a woman in a larger body, you were told, oh, just lose weight and it'll solve all your problems. Women who have ADHD, a lot of times that comes to the surface during menopause. And because we're so good at masking throughout, most of our life. And so like a lot of times, even then, we aren't believed by medical professionals. So I think that yeah, we are taught like, oh, that's just common, but like it's not a big deal. I've had clients be told by their doctors that it's just part of getting older when they said that they couldn't orgasm anymore. And I just I want to hunt that person down.
Well, you just have to think that doctor must not be having sex with his wife. And he's just assuming, well, my wife hasn't wanted sex in years, so that's just normal. Like, where's the science behind that?
I love how we all assumed that was a male doctor, because the male doctor would be like, we got to work on this.
So, yeah. So, because I feel like we should be moving heaven and earth to figure out what happened. Where is it? Where is this orgasm? Where did it go?
And how do I get it back? Stronger and better than before.
Right. Male doctor's probably complaining that his wife doesn't want to have sex anymore. It's like, I wonder why, if you're telling her, whoops, your pleasure doesn't even, it's not going to happen anymore.
Right.
You don't want to have that kind of sex.
Yeah.
Well, Cara, we are, like I said, we are super excited to have you this year. Do you have any last things that you would like women to know before, like any woman that might be on the fence about this retreat? Anything that you're super excited about for this retreat?
I am excited for sort of the thing that seems to happen so often when you get a bunch of women together in the same space or the same room, which is that it just sort of fills up with oxytocin. We share stories, we share our feelings, and there's so much camaraderie and sisterhood that can come out of it. I'm really, really excited and honored to be a part of that. And then I just want women to know that their way their bodies feel is real, and to advocate for yourself and your symptoms if you have them. So, yeah.
Well said. Very well said.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can't wait. It can't get here soon enough. So
I know. Can't wait.
Thank you for taking the time to share with us today and all of our listeners. We appreciate you and we love you, Coach Cara.
Right. We're so excited to have Teresa joining us. Teresa was a guest at our Wild and Wise retreat last year. She came to 2 other ladies retreats with me before this. And when I told her about what we were cooking up, she changed some plans and decided to come join us instead of another retreat she had signed up for. And we get her back again next year, this coming year. So Teresa, thank you so much for coming on and sharing with listeners a little bit about your experience. I think it's so much richer to hear your voice and these other women's voices. Of course, April and I think this is amazing, and because it's our baby, but we really would love to hear your thoughts, good, bad, who this is for, what your highlights were, anything that feels relevant for you.
I'd be happy to. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me to share my experience. When I went to the first Wild and Wise, I had already attended a couple of retreats. So I didn't have a lot of that nervous, what's this going to be like? What can I expect? Now, my very first women's retreat, I did have that. So for anyone who this is their first time or they're just considering it, I would say you're going to experience a lot of intelligent, thoughtful, warm women who are, serious yet playful and about improving themselves and learning about themselves. It's not just a thumpy bass party for a weekend, This is going to be a nice experience.
I agree. Was there anything from last year that was like your biggest takeaway or something that you thought, this is why I'm here. I needed this?
For me, I struggle with accepting this new version of myself as I'm aging and realizing how much value I put in, I guess, intent, for lack of a better way of putting it, superficial things and watching them sort of disappear. And so I think I came back with a renewed love for myself and hope and a little bit more, if not a sense of control, at least not a sense of this is all just happening to me and I don't know what to do about it. So tangibly, I came back with some specific supplements that I wanted to try and new knowledge about gut health and hormone health and things that I could do that were a little bit more in my control. And I think that also helped me not feel so helpless during this stage.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you said it was that this wasn't just something that was happening to you, because I think a lot of women feel that way. Like this is like a plague, that this is happening to me, instead of being able to be embodied and be like, this is my body and I'm okay. There's nothing broken. There's nothing wrong with me. And I think that's a beautiful statement that you made. But I think that that will resonate with a lot of women.
And it really did. It felt, genuine. All the people that we were with and all of our presenters, a wide range of women presenting in different stages of their life. And yeah, it was a very moving experience and felt very empowering.
What would you say? Like, why do you think every woman deserves an experience like this?
Well, I think every woman deserves an experience where they are reminded of their power. They are investing in themselves and investing in things that make them whole, complete, happy people. And I definitely feel like this retreat gives them that. You give yourself to the retreat, give yourself to the exercises. Not everything will resonate, but enough will, and you'll definitely come away with something. So I think invest in yourself. That's why I would recommend this, and I think it'd be very empowering for any woman who wants to enjoy this experience.
Oh.
Teresa, I'd love to know if you felt like, so as I've talked about leading this retreat, at the gym or, in my vanilla life, I have women all the time say, when's the next one? I want to go. And I've thought about trying to put one together, just, not with the common thread of people being sex positive or participating in or interested in it or something like that. But I just wonder, personally, I think it would lack some of the oomph. I'm just curious for you if you have any thoughts about what that common thread of being with other women that are sex positive or interested in, did that make a big difference? Would it have been just the same with your neighbors or your people at your church or whatever? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I've had the same thought myself. I think having women there who are at least all part of considering open to ethical non-monogamy enabled you to not have to wear that mask. And I think, so many of us, this is just not a part of our lives that is present 100%. And I think this, just taking that one obstacle out of the way, I think it makes a big difference in terms of what you're able to share and not have to think twice about what you might be sharing. You're not editing yourself in the moment. And I think that allows you for a more engaging, authentic experience.
I agree. Yeah. It's hard to be in a circle where you feel like you have to hide a part of yourself. And this is a retreat to truly make yourself a priority. You can't do that while hiding a part of yourself. So
I agree.
Exciting for me to talk about this stage of womanhood with other women that love being sexual or are part of what they're mourning is their libido. Not like, whew, cool, I don't have to do that anymore. I think being around other women that are invested in how do I keep that part of me juicy and alive as it changes, as it shifts. That felt really inspiring to me. Again, to see women in all sorts of different kinds of relationships, different ages, different experience in how sex, how open their relationships are, or whatever. Most of these women felt good in their bodies and wanted to continue to have sexual pleasure with the body that they're in. And that inspired me a lot.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. And yeah, I do think it makes a difference, to answer your question, to have people who are at least on a similar path, similar journey in the same meeting, in the same retreat. I think that you found it very, I guess, affirming, right?
Yeah.
So I think,
Yeah.
and I bet other participants would have found it, will find it affirming as well.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any last takeaways before we introduce our next guest?
No, my only recommendation, not so much a takeaway, is if anybody is on the fence, highly, highly recommend. You'll meet a lot of strong, interesting, capable women, and that alone is worth the price of admission.
Absolutely, including Teresa, because she will be back again with us this year.
Thank you so much. I
Yes.
appreciate this opportunity.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we appreciate you joining us again this year and taking the time out of your day to share with us and all of the women that are listening. Our next guest is Sharon, one of our dear friends. She attended the Wild and Wise retreat last year as well and will be coming again this year. And so all you ladies who are on the fence, we've got some incredible women that you can meet when you come this year. Sharon, welcome.
Hi. You too.
So we just want to talk a little bit about your experience last year and why you decided to come back again this year. Can you tell us just what a broad sweep of what your experience was last year, and then we can get into the nitty gritty?
Yeah. So I've actually never done an all women's retreat until Wild and Wise last year. So it was kind of a first for me to experience an all women's retreat. And I was really looking for exactly what it delivered, which is a community of women that were open-minded, coming to learn, explore, meet one another with barriers down, and just open to meet this amazing group of women. And it delivered.
What was was there a workshop that you, like, one of your biggest takeaways or something that an experience that impacted you most that
Well, you
weekend?
don't have to say that your favorite workshop was mine or April's. We'll still be friends.
Right. No,
Well, you just are going to regret that question because it's Cheryl's food, first of all, was the biggest takeaway.
Totally agree.
Sorry, Cheryl comes in first, and then April and Catherine. But I
both
will
agree.
say, April, your presentation where you tied in the nutrition and really helping the women identify portion sizes. So we went from your class to the kitchen where Cheryl had everything out. We got to make our own lunch bowls and then take away for dinner or road the next day. And I just really loved seeing the women connect everything that you had up on your PowerPoint into the kitchen. And that's something that they can take home. But yes, Cheryl's food was probably the most amazing part.
I agree. And I will say the women ate, right? Like Cheryl was like, I thought we would have leftovers, but the women are eating. Her food is delicious.
I think she kept telling us how many eggs we were going through. And she's like, they're getting the protein message, ladies. They're getting the protein message.
Right.
So, I will say Cheryl is so good about it's fresh and healthy. It's not super fancy, catered. It's clean, healthy, simple, delicious food with a beautiful presentation. One of the first women's retreats that I co-led, we had a caterer come in and cook on site. And it was so weird because it was this guy and he's just like in our space cooking. And so once I met Cheryl and we did a couples retreat with her I called April and I was like, okay, we're firing the caterer. We're bringing Cheryl in because she is also an ethically non-monogamous person, sex positive, explorer, adventurer. And so she just fits in and folds in just seamlessly. So I will take second place to her anytime, Sharon. You have a good face.
Agreed. So why are you coming back this year? What was the biggest driver to book again?
It's the relationships. I'm excited to see so many of the women I met last year. I'm excited to meet new women, embrace them, show them what a beautiful community this is. And I think it was you, April. I kept saying, I think it was after the first or second day, having all these women in this house that most of us hadn't met each other before this retreat. There was no cattiness. There were no cliques. There were no sidebar anything. It was the best group of women I've ever seen so quickly form relationships and friendships. So I want to go back for more of that and meet other women and catch up with the ladies that I met last year.
Yeah, that really is. I think that is some of the women's fears booking something like this, especially if they've had any negative experience, like in summer camp or, school. And Right. With those girl cliques. There wasn't. And there was women from every demographic, every stage of life, and everyone was nobody was isolated. Nobody was left out. It was really a beautiful experience, like the impromptu boudoir shoot.
That was one of my favorite.
Tell us about that.
Well, it was just so beautiful seeing the women embrace it and knowing most of them were like, I've never done anything like this before. They were sharing lingerie. They were helping each other pose. They were sending pictures to their husband in the middle of their meetings at work that day. So, and then even one of our attendees was kind of directing the photos and telling the women how to like pose. And she even said, I think I found my new callings.
Yeah, there was women crying after that.
Yes.
They had never seen
how
themselves.
They saw themselves.
Yeah, feel confident in lingerie, and all the women were doing each other's hair. And yeah, it really was a beautiful thing.
Sharon, were there any takeaways for you wherever you are on your journey and embracement of menopause? What was the information like? Were there any takeaways that really stuck with you?
Yeah, and I forget her name. I should have come better prepared, but the guest lecturer we had from Canada that talked about gut health. I read her entire book cover to cover after the retreat. So that was a huge takeaway for me. For me, it's just learning the education, learning what to expect, what other women are going through. So even if you do ask your mom, that version of what menopause may look like doesn't mirror what you may experience. So getting so many women under one roof to say, I experienced this, or this was mine, or expect this, or this worked for me, or this didn't. So for me, it was the education piece on that, but the guest lecture she was very good.
Yeah.
And Luna, of course.
Right. Yeah. And that was, she's not with us this year, but Dr. Jackie Flory, and we will link her stuff in our show notes as well, because she has some incredible information. She goes more on the holistic naturopathic side of addressing your hormones. And she's got an incredible book, some supplements that can really help you thrive through this stage as well. So yeah, that's a good takeaway. Why would you tell somebody who's on the fence about coming to this retreat? What would you tell them about booking this?
Well, first, I want to say, why are you on the fence? Dissipate those anxieties or fears and just say, try it. It's only a few nights. I don't think I talked to anyone that left saying, I regret doing this. Most of them were saying, I can't wait to be back next year. So I would say just put in the PTO, put in the vacation, make the plans, do it. It's just a few days. You're going to love it. It's going to be better than you imagined, and your future self will thank you.
Yeah, well said. Any last things, Catherine? Excuse me. You have any questions that you want to ask Sharon?
Was there anything about this being your first all women's retreat? Was there anything else that surprised you or that you would never have expected?
No, I would go back to the fact that there were no clicks and no cattiness. Like, I was really surprised. I come from more of a male dominant world, prior military, but walking into that world, I was pleasantly surprised, and I expect the same thing this year. So
yeah.
Did you feel like because you were expecting that, did you come in sort of braced or with
a little guarded? Yeah. And it takes me a little bit to warm up. Yeah. So really,
what helps you warm up? How long do you feel like it took before you felt like, I'm here?
The first evening. I mean, I came in a little tired that first night, and I know we did kind of an icebreaker, just a quick, question and answer session with everyone. And that helped a lot to get to know some of the other women. And we even referred to a lot of what we learned in that icebreaker. But once I got some sleep, and the next morning I was ready to go, I felt great. So I think after that first icebreaker, everyone really opened up.
Yeah. And yeah, absolutely. You're one of the bravest women I know.
April had to tell me to quit talking like 10 times during that icebreaker, so I must not have been too tired.
I forgot about that. I sure did. Once you get going, which is a good thing. But I think it's going to be wonderful also to have some women who were there last year there again, because you can remember how you felt coming into it. And so I think it's going to help those barriers drop a lot quicker for the women that are coming for the first time, because you'll be able to recognize that in other women coming in. And I think the friendships will start budding a little bit earlier this year.
I agree. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Well, Sharon, thank you so much for your time. And we absolutely cannot wait to see you again in Pigeon Forge.
Same. See you in a few months.
All right. Bye. All right. Before we wrap, we want to talk about a few of the other sessions that are going to be offered at the Wild and Wise retreat. We have Sally Sykes, who is a functional medicine coach, and she works as a concierge and advocate for patients who don't really know how to communicate their blood work and stuff with their doctor. And so she is a concierge service. She'll read your blood work. She'll tell you questions to ask your doctor. She can even find doctors for you. But when it comes to women and hormones, it can be messy and hard and frustrating. And so she's going to give us help us troubleshoot, like questions we should ask our doctor, what we should look at, but also some tips, how to balance your hormones naturally, what you can ask if you want to go with HRT, different types of HRT. And so that will be super useful because there's not one single woman who needs to be treated exactly like another woman. So having somebody to kind of tell you what to ask to get your questions answered and get the hormones and treatment that is right for your body and your DNA and your chemistry is so important. You and I both know that.
Yes. I think, having a health coach especially when you're going through something like this, or, I have been diagnosed with an autoimmune issue and there are health coaches specifically for this issue. I've heard the analogy that it's a little bit like hiring a wedding planner or a doula. So you can just be the patient. Like when you want to be the bride, you just want to be the bride and you want to have somebody else bring you, you need to decide this, you need to decide that. What do you want to do about this? Should I keep your mother away from you? That sort of thing. And same with doula for giving. Yeah. And so during this time, yet another big transition as a woman, what a gift to yourself to be able to have a coach help you know what to do and what to say and what to ask and just listen to you bitch and cry because you didn't listen or whatever. So I think she'll be a great addition to our workshop series.
Absolutely. And then we'll have Luna Matata. She's going to be back again this year talking about pleasure and menopause and how things change because our vulva physically changes, right? And so a lot of times our libido drops. We're a little bit drier. So how to navigate getting to know your pussy a little bit better. I think it didn't shock me, but it surprised me a little bit that there are so many women who really have never gotten to know their own vulva.
Mm-hmm.
And so she does a beautiful job. She's so engaging and just easy. But she's also writing a book right now on the intersection of menopause and pleasure. So she'll be talking to us about that at our retreat. What else do we have to offer?
We also, in the mornings, we'll have activity opportunities. This cabin is in a beautiful part of the mountains. Just walking straight out from these cabins, you can get a great workout walking up and down these hills. And so we'll certainly have opportunities for that. And the leaves will be changing. It'll be beautiful. I'll be teaching some yoga classes. And then, as you heard from Cara, we've got some exciting classes, some Naughty Gym pelvic-floor classes. So we'll definitely have activity opportunities. We build in enough downtime for you to chill and, follow up on a conversation, come and talk to the presenters that are there about things, talk to the woman that you were cracking jokes with about, as Luna's talking about pussy power and you two are making jokes, you can go sit in the hot tub and have a glass of wine or something. I found those to be really lovely. We are going to be so spoiled by our professional hostess with the mostest, Cheryl of Devious Dragonfly. And I think having her come in is such a vital part of what we're trying to create in this retreat, because most of us are the hostesses with the mostesses, and we're making sure everybody's fed and there's enough toilet paper and there's a da-da-da-da-da, and everybody comes and asks us all the questions. We all get to take a break from that. Cheryl is calm, cool, collected. She does all that, and she doesn't even call her family assholes. Like, right. So
I honestly don't know how she does it because you don't necessarily see her all the time working. You just show up and the table is set beautifully and the food is displayed beautifully and it tastes good and it really is incredible. She's going to be doing on day one. We're going to be doing like a meal prep workshop for lunch where you get to see how you can create a beautiful, nutritious lunch on the go. And so we'll be doing that on day one with Cheryl. But any woman that has any food allergies, any special food restrictions, they're gluten-free, vegetarian, pescatarian, we have an intake form that all of the women fill out, and Cheryl can accommodate any food requirement.
And you're not going to get like, the prepackaged gluten-free bun. She
Right.
freaking gave me a gluten-free lemon cake with her grandmother's recipe at our last one. And I was like, I don't want to share this with everybody, right?
And it was good because Scott ate it and he didn't know it was gluten-free.
Yes. And then I was like, stop it. You can't have any more. It's mine.
But yeah, and the downtime too. We have downtime built in that's intentional. It's a sex positive retreat. It's clothing optional. So you can go in the hot tub nude or you can wear a bathrobe. Doesn't matter. And there's literally no judgment. I can remember women last year, some walking around in lingerie, some walking around in sweats and sweatshirts, some walking around, just in, it doesn't matter. Don't overthink what you're going to pack. Come to dress what you feel comfortable in. Don't worry about everybody else.
Yes.
So that's a beautiful thing. The indoor pool, hot tub. And those are when those conversations happen that spark incredible friendships. And you get to glean from women what has worked and what hasn't worked in their lives. And it's just a really special time.
It is. And I've also had people ask, well, it's a women's retreat in, the lifestyle E&M space. What if I'm not bisexual? And I'm like, what? That wouldn't have even dawned on me to ask. But I will say, certainly there were women that made some fun, sexy connections with each other. And then there are women that are absolutely not bisexual. I think there were definitely women that, were interested in non-monogamy, but hadn't participated. So, and I feel like there was space and room for all of that. And so, again, as we were talking about with Teresa, it is nice to be around other sex positive and empowered women, however they're expressing that over the weekend.
It's funny because last year, one of the girls that came, and she's actually coming again this year, she on the Zoom, she said, I just don't want to take somebody's spot because my husband and I aren't non-monogamous, but we are sex positive. I don't want to take somebody's spot if, somebody who's non-monogamous wants to come. And I'm like, no. That is not what this is. You do not have to be non-monogamous. You don't have to be bisexual. You don't have just sex positive. And what we mean by that is you're open to welcoming and non-judgmental of however anybody else chooses to live their life.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's say that the other piece of sex positive I feel like we gather is an open-mindedness, but also a curiosity. So even if it isn't your cup of tea, it's still interesting to hear how other people are having their sex, or with whom, or where, or how many people. And so there's definitely that curiosity, which I think translates to people feeling really accepted, because somebody who probably would never do something you do still is interested in hearing about it, not shushing or yucking your yum.
Yes, I agree. So the retreat is November 8th through the 11th of 2026. It's coming up in just a few months. You would go to naughtygym.com, click on events. You can book right from the website there. And we only have king suites left, but you could also add a friend so that you can split the cost. You can, if you don't want to book right away and you have questions, there's a link where you can book a Zoom with Catherine or myself so you can get all of your questions answered. We also do have some payment plan options. So if paying all one large sum is too much, you can reach out to us through email or through the website, book a Zoom, and we will talk to you through that as well.
I also mentioned with those king suites, they're huge, and they all have a futon. And so even if you wanted to share a room but not a bed, there's that option. If there's somebody out there who says, I'd really like to room with somebody like freshman year dorm, reach out. There may be other women that we can put you together.
The bunk room last year had 13 women in it. Now this year, our bunk room is smaller. There's only going to be 6 in there. But the women that stayed in the bunk room last year said they felt like it was sleepaway summer camp in the best way, though. Some of them were like, we never went to summer camp, so we were super nervous. And it turned out to be the best thing. Like they were just chatting all night long and had an amazing time. So yeah, if you're interested in sharing a room, definitely reach out to us and we can find a way to work that out. So, Catherine, tell everybody where they can find you.
So expansiveconnection.com is our website. And there's 6 coaches that work with me. And we have different specialties, kink and polyamory. We have trauma-informed therapist coaches. We've got people who have deconstructed religion in the lifestyle. So we've got, a flavor for everyone. We do educational workshops. We have a circle community where you can come in and be with other, we call it sexy nerd, and talk about relationship things. We have options for private coaching. We have options for peer groups that are more affordable. And like I say, our circle community. And then we offer couples retreats. And then we're lucky enough to be invited to come to things like Being Better at Being Bad with Naughty Jim, or to collaborate with other people to offer these retreats. So there's a little something for everyone.
Yeah. And what's beautiful is at all of the events, you start to see some of the same people, meet new people, but it's such a incredible community. And when I talk about community, I mean the non-monogamous community as a whole. Like, we have met some truly beautiful people, and it's just a special thing to be able to share a retreat or a vacation or a workshop.
It's to me, it's the way you find your tribe, because, if you love to, dance the night away and party, and that's really all you want to do in your E&M space, like, that is great. And when you go to events where that's the focus, you're going to find your people and you're going to see them again and again. And I think what we find the commonality in our events is these are people that like to have fun, but they really want to grow, and they find the growth fun. And so when you're around other sexy nerds, they become your people, and you talk them into coming to Jamaica with you, or let's go to this women's retreat together, or whatever. So it really is a great way to find your tribe. If you feel called to do this sort of thing for yourself, just think about the likelihood of you connecting with other women who also feel called to do this kind of thing for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So book it. Don't wait, because last year it did sell out and there was a waiting list. Yeah. So if you're on the fence, just do it.
Just do it. Come on, come have fun with us.
And you will most definitely find your tribe. We can promise you that. All right, Catherine, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I can't wait to see you again. I think it's going to be November, maybe, before I see you again. All right, everybody, thank you for listening today. And remember to never stop playing.